code and play the open source way. CircuitPython Day, we code and play the open source way. We code and play.
Code. Play.
Live from Brooklyn. Happy CircuitPython Day, everybody. It is a CircuitPython Day chat with Ladyada.
Me, Ladyada. It's the snakiest day of the year, and I'm here with Mr. Ladyada too. You're talking about CircuitPython.
Yes.
It's our fault.
There is a whole bunch of activities today. First, let's let everybody in on this dealio.
Deal.
16% off. This is probably the biggest sale that we'll do this year. So 16% off. Code is CPD16. Those are uppercase CPD16. All the way to today, ends at midnight, because we'll run out of stuff. So if you want to get 16% off, this is your chance and your only chance to do it. Some exclusions were applying, like no Raspberry Pis, and while supplies last.
No,
We have
coupons. Sorry, gift certificate.
Yeah, you can't get a discount gift certificate. You get infinite glitch money. Today we had 3D Hangouts with Noah and Pedro, CircuitPython Coffee Hour with Scott and Dan. We had Maker Chat with Guy DuPont. We had CircuitPython Code Design Challenges with Melissa, CircuitPython Project Highlights with Paul and Todd. I think they're in the chat. Good work. I was able to see some of that. Ladyada live chat, and then JP's workshop, Deep Dive with Scott, and then CircuitPython Game Jam with Tim.
Okay, it's like
It's a full day of activity and more, but the conversations continue. You can go on Discord. You can tag your project CircuitPython Day 2024. We do this every year. This one's virtual videos all day. That's what folks wanted. And speaking of, one of the things that we were asking our community is like, okay, you're going to have Ladyada. You can ask any questions in Discord, but what would be the most useful thing? And someone asked me kind of this has been a question that they've asked over and over, different people. I wish there was a guide to every single board out there and tell me what to choose. Make does that with their board guide. They spend a lot of time on it and they cover absolutely everything.
Yeah.
So we thought for CircuitPython Day, Ladyada would navigate circuitpython.org.
Yeah.
Which is the website that has the easiest way to control program microcontrollers.
It has everything built in.
We have downloads, libraries, Linka. And I thought what Ladyada could do is go through the downloads, because these are listed by, there's 526 boards. There's more non-Adafruit boards and boards. But I thought Ladyada could talk about what you would use for what, even if you were to go through each board and say, this is what you would use this board for. Because with CircuitPython, you get a lot, but there's also the hardware that you are controlling and doing stuff with.
Yeah.
And some boards have something, some boards don't have others, some are small, and they're like easier to manage in a project. So I thought, Ladyada, that's what we could talk about, and you would start off with.
Well, I thought we could do it with filters. You can filter by maker.
So you want to drive?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna.
This is a cool mouse.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the.
This is like a funky mouse.
I have multiple buttons.
All right, so I filtered because there's all these makers. Okay, so this is the first one is the ESP32C3 LCD. So this board's cool because it's like a little ESP board with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It has a little OLED built in, and it's kind of similar to the Cutie Pie or the Xiao board. So this is great if you want like the tiniest little board that has Wi-Fi and BLE and a little OLED built in. Okay, so that's first. Maybe we'll do 2 or 3 at a time because I think these, I don't think there's a bazillion. A lot of these people have like 1 or 2 boards. Okay. So next up is the Commander. Okay, this is cool. So this one has buttons built in. It's a funky shape. It uses a SAMD21, which means it runs Arduino really well as well. And so I think it's just like if you want to, especially if you want to have this act like a keyboard and it has a micro SD slot built in, so you can like read data from the SD card to configure what the buttons and LEDs do. It'd be like a little remote controller. Oh wait, hold on. I got to go back. The Helios. So this looks like a keyboard. Yeah, it's a Pro Micro compatible. So if you're using the Pro Micro, which is an Atmega 32U4 board, and you want way more power and capability, this is Elite C compatible. So it's designed for keyboards and it has a lot of extra GPIO. and you get to use, and it's got like this cool like through slot USB-C, so it's like it's good for mounting directly onto a PCB. Lots of flash memory, tons of GPIO, and then you can use QMK or KMK with it. The Frood. Also, another Pro Micro compatible. This one's very cute. A little bit less flash. This one looks like it has 2 megabytes of flash, but is Elite C compatible. So also this is good for, it's got that like I said, the mid mount USB-C. Good for when you're making keyboards. This one has the D plus and D minus line, which is really nice. And nice. It has the pin labeling. eFidget. I remember we saw this. It was a fidget spinner. All open source hardware. So if you want to make like a portable game board that is like, I like the round shape. It's got the battery built in, so it's good for portable projects. And I think it's got like a NeoPixels, and yeah, it's got haptic feedback. It's kind of cool. It's a little thing. USB interposer. Okay, so this uses like we know that we had the USB host feather. Very similar. You plug this in, and then you can use USB-A to connect to the CircuitPython, interface, and then the USB host is bit banged with PIO because we added that USB host, like you can see here, USB host. So this you can like, we have a couple projects. I think JP did a couple. You read MIDI commands and you can like twiddle them and change them around.
Maybe on one of these you can talk about what's on each page and what section. Can you can you go back to that?
So let's go to what this
Yeah, go back to the one that you just showed.
806. Okay, so the interposer.
Yeah. So what is this? So when people go here, you can get the UF2,
That's for the install.
And then all of the
languages.
Yeah, so talk about like what information is here and why.
Okay. So on the top,
so it helps you choose a board.
Yeah, so the top left, there's the name and the company, and then there's a photo that they provide. There's a little bit of text that the person who submitted the board updates. So it's like whatever they wrote. We don't fact check it, but usually they're pretty honest. A link to where you can buy it.
Well, if there's anything that comes up, people contact us.
It's also it's basically kind of a wiki. You can update it yourself. So yes, it's all generated by GitHub using their Flask pages, whatever thing, I don't know the name, but this is the latest board version, the latest stable version of CircuitPython. So this is kind of the one that has the most, it has not the most recent, so there still might be bugs in it, but it's like the one that most people are using. It's what we suggest for new people, because if there are bugs, you can always use the absolute latest, but it's kind of stable.
Can you go back and use older versions somehow too?
Yes, I'll show you how to do that. So for the languages, we have a translation project that anyone can submit to, and some have more coverage than others. But the error messages and the prompt, are in other languages, which can help programmers. You still have to code using ASCII, like English, like Python, but at least the error messages are in the language you prefer. It could make it a little easier for people to get started. Especially since some messages are kind of technical.
Someone in the chat said, thank you, this is helpful for a newbie. This is why we want to do this, because there's so many choices, so many boards, and to decipher this is helpful.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Okay. Built-in modules. So one of the things about CircuitPython that is really powerful is everything's kind of compiled in already. So if you want to use like if you have an Arduino project and you're like, okay, I want it to add a keyboard, you compile it, but then you're like, oh wait, I want to add an OLED display. Now you have to recompile your code to add display support or one wire or audio. Like every time you add stuff, you have to recompile it over and over again. The deal with CircuitPython, it's all compiled in. So there is, depending on the platform, some have support for, like, for example, Wi-Fi. This board will never have Wi-Fi support because it's a chip that doesn't do Wi-Fi. But it does have keyboard support, like keypad, demux over here, and one wire support, RGB matrix, and rotary encoder support, and synth IO support, so you can have it like play music, and USB host, and watchdog. So you can, if you're not sure exactly what module, you can ask in the Discord, but pretty much you can look through this and see what it can do. Like this one can do MP3 decoding and audio mixing. If you don't see that because it's a smaller chip, you'll never get that working. Like you're not going to make a custom version. You're not going to be able to recompile it because we kind of compile as much as we can in.
Yeah, and one thing that I think is kind of cool, and this is like a page from the Arduino book, at least some of the projects I've seen, is sometimes people start out with like an Arduino Uno, and by the time they were ready to do a deployment and something bigger and lower cost, they didn't need a lot of the features. So it got to be like a smaller and smaller thing. So we've seen people, back in the day start with a Uno or whatever, or something like that, and then end up with like a Adafruit trinket or now like a cube.
Yeah.
So you can maybe start off with something that has a bunch of stuff, but then you can know what your target is, which is maybe you only need like a couple of things.
Yeah.
So anyways,
And
that's the way to
you
look at
can
it.
recompile it, but you can remove things. It's very hard to add things because again, if there's no, like if you compile this in with Wi-Fi, it wouldn't magically have Wi-Fi. It just because it
doesn't-
doesn't have the hardware for
It
it.
doesn't just
Doesn't-
grow
doesn't-
Wi-Fi.
It doesn't like it doesn't like mutate. Okay, so then this is the latest development release. This is where we usually do bug fixes or new updates, features that are added. So this is like semi-stable. Like we think you'll have a good experience with this, but it's not. We think most bugs are squished, but it's not stable where we're like, it's tested and we know. Ditto, and then absolute newest and previous versions are actually kind of in the same location. If you click that, it'll take you to the S3 bucket. It's not as elegant as the download button, but then you pick the language, for
I
example.
know some people prefer
German.
to look at their computing experience this way. Tyth mentioned in the chat the built-in modules list are all links to documentation for the
Oh,
module.
that's true. I should put that.
Handy.
Yeah. So this is all the latest. These are all the builds that we've done. So this board is actually pretty recent because you can see the first build we did was back in July. So there's not.
You can go back in time. and
You could go back in time, but if you go to something like the Feather, let's see what a really old board. What's like the oldest board? Probably the Metro M0. 1 second, I can't read.
Old enough.
Oh, you know what? This is actually before we had we put Adafruit in front because we were the only people making stuff.
Right.
So Metro M0 expand. Okay, this is like the first board. So if you look at this one, it has years and years of history.
For some of the
Actually,
developers.
we actually had to, I think
2019.
it actually goes back before then, I think.
Yeah.
But right, or when did we start CircuitPython?
Mm.
I think we didn't have the whole history, but you can basically go back to every
Cool.
released version, not every built version, but every released version. So to quite a bit of history. Okay, so let's go back. So you can always navigate there. Previous versions, ditto. It's all in. Oh wait, there's an old folder. Let's see if there's an
Old folder.
I don't see. Oh yeah, there is old. Oh yeah. So even older stuff. So that's good. Okay, so 2019. Okay. And then like Ty said, so this is a link. So if you're like, well, I want to do this is a link? I don't think these are links. They're not links. Maybe it broke.
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, this is not linkable. So whatever. Okay. Let's
Those should be linkable, let us know.
yeah, they should be linkable, but they're not. Okay, so let's skip Adafruit because there's more tons of us. Let's do the next batch. Okay. So ARMCOM badge 2019. So this is a badge from an event. It has NR52840, so it's got Bluetooth, so good for really deep, low power. E-ink display, so it can run off of a battery. Looks like it does music playback. Has NeoPixel, so it's like a badge for an event. Some keys. It's a cute demo.
That's in the chat. So it's 2016. They're in a different path because they didn't have different languages.
Yeah,
That's why.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay, synthesizer. So Thea Flowers made some synths. So this is if you want to make modular synthesizers that run CircuitPython. She's got a bunch of modules. This one's a button. This one is a USB MIDI to CV gate. So you plug this into USB and then it does CV control voltage output. So for controlling your synthesizer.
One thing that I've heard from, pro makers, people who are running businesses, is they're able to focus on their hardware and not have to maintain not only building the firmware for each of their hardware devices, but the updates you get, essentially get for free every time there's a new version of CircuitPython.
Yeah, like this was submitted, I don't even know how long ago, and it's like,
It'll
keep
work.
building for it. Okay, so this is the Evo M51. So this has a SAMD 51 and an Altera Max 10. I'm sure this was deeply affected by the part shortage, but it's probably back in stock now. This would be great for people who want a feather format. So you want like something portable, maybe battery powered with USB. It has this Cortex M4 that can run Arduino or CircuitPython, and a programmable FPGA that you can code for like high speed interface. And then you can see there's little pads in between. So if you need extra GPIO.
You
it's
know,
available.
I had downloaded the data set from Oshawa for the certifications because I wanted to see how we were doing. So we're up to 777 open hardware certifications, and I looked at the dates. And you know, it's interesting. Maybe I'll do this with some of the boards because during the chip shortage, probably the number of boards slowed down because there was less boards. Same thing, we weren't able to put as many.
Yeah, you'll see like a little.
Yeah,
Although we registered more
we
boards
registered
because
more,
we were
but new boards being made.
new boards. Okay. Next up, oh wait, there's another version of the badge. This looks like an update. This time it has a Lego character, more buttons, still has the Cortex NR52 and a e-ink display. So another, especially if you have a badge project you want to get started with, you could use this, base it off this hardware, and take it from there. We have a couple words from AI Thinker. They make modules for the ESP32 and friends, so not too surprising. People who use their boards want to have CircuitPython run them. These are the C3s. I think this is an ESP32, also an ESP32 with a camera. We do have support for these. You'll want to use the USB serial workflow, which Melissa just wrote a guide for. These are basically low cost ESP32 boards. You know, people often have them just like in that, you know, they picked them up years ago and they have them. So you'll be able to use those. Okay, so next up, let's do Arduino. Let's do the rest of these. We'll click off these guys. See. Ooh, there's a lot. Let's actually do Arduino separately because there's a lot of Arduinos. Let's do these. Okay. Okay, so these are from at Mega Zero. This is kind of a cool thing. So this is the shape of a Raspberry Pi Zero, but it's actually designed for use with the ESP32S2. So it's like you can have a little battery powered Wi-Fi board. It has USB serial, so it's like one USB serial, one USB host, SD card, and an antenna. And then this is an e-ink display.
There's a little color. There's a little color coverage.
And they would match with the capabilities of like a circuit, sorry, with the Raspberry Pi Zero. Okay, we also have from Atelier du Maker. This is Holy Oat. So this is a breakout board for a Holy Oat module. So if you have this module, Holy IoT, Holy Oat, I don't know how you pronounce it. In our 52 module, you have that. This breakout will make it really easy for you to get started because it has all the pins set up. And there's Arturo, the maker, I think he's in Sweden, who makes a ton of cool boards with like the latest chips. So the Serpente is a little, I think it's a at Mega. Is it at Mega? Yeah, it's a SAMD 21. So it's kind of like a Trinky. It's a board that plugs in to USB or USB-C or has a port, and it's just like you just have a couple pins. It's like meant to be like a tiny little dev board, and it looks like it has extra flash memory, so it works. It'll work really good. Yeah, 4 megabytes of flash. So it work really good with CircuitPython because you have that external flash memory for storing lots of files. Also some chips using the super high power IMX RT1011 and 1062.
What is that? Productivity open. What's that?
I'm saying when's that last? Okay. So these are feathers with like super high power Cortex M7 chips that are used in the Teensy series. I think these were prototypes. I don't think they were made and released, but the files are up. And then from Autosport Labs, I mean, they make canned communication projects for cars, right? Autosport Labs, they've been doing like open source hacking. So this board is an ESP32S3, so it's like lots of flash, lots of memory. So that Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And it got a CAN interface built in. So this is really good for CAN or automotive projects where you want to do like also maybe Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and run off of CircuitPython. So we got, look, everybody's got something. And then I'll be sure.
Menagerie of boards.
This item, this is kind of cool. It's like it's just like a automation platform. So I think for robotics,
Yeah, or like factory equipment or
Factory
something.
equipment,
You know,
yeah.
here's what I don't know.
It looks like, yeah, it's got like automation. So it's relays and inputs.
I'll tell you what I don't know.
Yeah.
So remember PyCom?
Yeah.
So they were doing some MicroPython hardware, and then Arduino Pro has come out, and I see things that look like this, but I don't.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't know who's actually
There's
using
people
them.
who use it. There's
No, I
automation
know.
engineers.
Yeah,
They,
but they're
like people doing automation.
yeah, but they're not showing and sharing their
They
projects.
don't, 'cause it's private.
Because it's like, oh, I'm running, these are running a thing that
It's like a battery. Sorry, a butter.
yeah,
container injector.
it melts butter and puts it in a machine. So
Yeah, yeah.
so the thing is, that industry, is it big? Is it small? What is it?
It's big.
But
Yeah.
the interesting thing is, I think, and this is my guess, it's probably lucrative enough, and they're using Python more and more because those factory controllers, they're probably in a similar state that the electronics world was like. I don't want to use.
They're super overpriced and very proprietary. So it's like this way you can use CircuitPython to do all your automation.
Yeah.
And then it's like easier to update and maintain, especially if you're doing, when you're starting with your PLC stuff, you have to tweak so much. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, have the relay on for 1.1 seconds. Okay, now try 1.15.
And all of these
1.2.
are IoT connected, so
Yeah.
being able to like get a string of information somewhere, it's so much easier with Python. So I think that's what we're going to see, and I think this is my guess. That's why PyCom went into this, and this is why Arduino, because they've adopted Python.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know which industries are using them. I assume it's enough because Arduino's kind of diverted to that industrial market.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see it in CircuitPython.org.
Yeah. So PLC stuff. I mean, there's,
Yeah,
there's a
industrial
few.
automation PLC replacements. That's what.
Okay. So this is Arduino. We have to keep them because we're only on A. And it's
Oh,
23 minutes. We're gonna...
Oh no, you're just doing a
Do you want me
general,
to-
you don't have to do all 500.
Oh, okay.
No, this is
You
just
said I was going to do all of them. I was like, okay.
no, this is just to help people decipher what it is.
Okay.
You're teaching them the fish. You're not gonna give them all 500 fish.
I don't know. I've gone through a couple fish.
Yeah,
I think we've done 100 so far.
yeah. You're on for another 7 minutes, Ladyada.
That's it? Oh, I thought it was 7 hours.
No, it's 3:30.
Oh, okay. Great. I was like, I'll do all 500. Whatever.
Yeah, you'll do anything folks ask you to do.
That's pretty much true.
That's the problem. You have to be careful what you ask Ladyada.
I know.
She just goes.
Let's go. Okay, so this is the all the Arduino made boards. There's boards that are Arduino compatible, but these are actually made by Arduino. So some of these have NR52 840s. This is the Nano 33. A bunch of them have ESP32s. This is great if you have Arduino brand hardware and you are using it with Arduino, but then you want to also experiment with using CircuitPython. Some of these also support MicroPython. They've started doing that, which I think is great.
Yeah.
But if you want to use CircuitPython, because we have all these hardware libraries and modules built in, check these out. They gave the original Zero, the original Maker Zero, the Nano ESP32, and the LoRaWAN, Maker boards. Those are available. Okay. Do you want me to keep going, or do you
Well,
want
let's
to
do
take
a couple of questions.
Yeah.
And then there's some folks mentioned that the board that I was talking about, it's industrial automation PLC, usually more ruggedized than SPCs. And then someone has I said they have a weird idea. What's your take on it? Could you power a Raspberry Pi with a mini two-stroke gasoline engine for robotics use? How would it compare to a LiPo?
Well, you need a battery in between. You can't connect it directly.
So would the
would
engine would
charge-
spin up,
It would charge the battery.
it would charge the battery, and then
You could do that, but the power coming out of an engine is so inconsistent.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd still need to have something between.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not a crazy idea.
Okay. No, you
Thanks for saying it's mind-boggling the number of boards in CircuitPython. Yeah. Are there any plans to upscale the PyBadge PyGamer board form factor with improved processors and displays? The CircuitPython performance improvements for gaming impressive. Yes.
I think this would be a great use for the RP2350.
Round displays, long displays.
That the
All sorts
S3 can do has much more RAM, especially with the PS RAM for the RP2350 could be really great.
Yeah.
And then I could keep going. I mean, this is, or if there's
Well,
everybody has requests.
Let's just do a reminder. CircuitPython Day brought to you by Adafruit.
Yeah.
If you want to fuel all of the folks that we pay to work on CircuitPython, pick up some stuff at a 16% discount. Don't forget the rest of the day we have a full lineup of shows. GPU's Workshop, Deep Dive Scott, CircuitPython, Game Jam with Tim. If you want, you can get our weekly newsletter delivered to you, Adafruit Daily. It's a separate website because we don't like spam more than you don't like spam. It's delivered. You can also just get it on GitHub or on our blog, do an RSS feed. We still do that. All that and more. So let's see if there's any more questions. And
Or any particular boards people are looking for. They're like, I want a board that does.
it's your last question for the last 4 minutes. Is there anything that you want to do and you're wondering which board to choose?
Yeah.
I'll ask you one.
Yeah.
Okay, I want the smallest, cheapest board for a project that I'm going to put outside, and it might get ruined. I don't, but so I just it might get ruined.
But what kind of stuff do you want to do with it?
Well, it's close enough to home because it's Wi-Fi.
You want Wi-Fi?
So I want to have a thing where if I open up a box, I get notified.
Well, so let's do Wi-Fi
Yeah.
and maybe Bluetooth. You think you'll be close enough to do Bluetooth? No.
Nah.
Okay. So we'll do filters for
Not a tiny
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi board.
Okay, so let's look for a tiny Wi-Fi board. So there's quite a few. I think for, we don't sort by price. But to be honest, I think the cheapest board for that kind of project would be, just trying to look. Sorry. There's a lot of Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
boards.
there's so much Wi-Fi.
Well, we would maybe want to go with one of the more popular ones. I would use, this Lowland S2 Mini is probably very cheap.
Okay.
Or the Pico W.
Okay.
It's $5.
Okay.
And that we support Wi-Fi on it.
Deal.
So maybe the Pico W or maybe this Lowland
Okay, next question.
S2.
Recommendations for a starter kit board. I would say CircuitPython Express.
Yeah, the CircuitPython Express is really good for beginners.
And then, do you have?
Or the Clue. The Clue is a good.
Clue's a good one, yeah, because that's great. Do you have a link to the USB serial method for the ESP32 that you mentioned?
Yeah, to the Clue. Okay, so if you go to
Oh, the Maker Go is a couple bucks.
the Maker Go S3, yeah, those are also good. Okay, so you want to go to.
Lowland S2 Mini is pretty good.
Interesting, we don't have code up here. I thought it was okay. I think it's code.circuitpython.org. So then when you go to code.circuitpython.org, you can select which interface you want to use. And if you connect USB, I happen to be one using Safari, but if you're on Chrome, a Chromium browser, so you can use Chrome
Yeah.
or Opera, or there's like one other, not Firefox and not Safari. You would be able to select the serial port for the device, and then you would be able to upload files and write code directly.
Last question. We have
Yeah.
to run out of time. Since you asked, what would you use for remote-ish battery solar monitoring? Something to keep an eye on voltage mostly.
That's a good question. Well, depends on how remote it is. If it's cellular,
Yeah.
which is remote, you would actually, be really great would be the new board.
The new particle.
But it's not-
Tachyon is-
Yeah, it's not available
We
yet.
backed it on Kickstarter. We
Let's
don't
see
back
if there's cellular. I don't know if there's
Well, all the 2G stuff was retiring out. so-
yeah, I don't know if we have any. There's any. I mean, you can attach a cellular module. Yeah, there's no cell. There's no cell built-in ones, which I think is interesting. Although,
Oh, this is funny. Someone works in a big rig suit in December, and it totally freaked out a 9-year-old when they asked for a Raspberry Pi, and he said, "Do you want a Pi or a Pico?" Ooh,
I'm looking. I thought that there
stand
was
on those.
a cellular one, but there isn't. Although, you know what you could do if it's remote enough, but it's within a couple miles, you could do something with LoRa. So LoRa has a couple miles.
Okay.
If it's remote, but within 2 miles, and you have a good antenna, use any of these LoRa boards to create a point-to-point link,
Oh.
and you don't have to pay for cellular, and it'll be great for doing voltage monitoring.
That's a good answer because
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah.
Especially if it's like in your greenhouse or in your outdoor solar installation, and it's not close enough to the house to do Wi-Fi, but you can it's within a few miles.
All
And
right.
it's not that much data.
Well, you have to get back to making hardware.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us. This has been a CircuitPython Day chat with Ladyada. Continue to tune in throughout the day. JP's workshop is next. Deep dive with Scott, then CircuitPython Game Jam with Tim. You can continue the fun with buying stuff. That always feels good. 16% off in the store. Use it or lose it.
Yep.
Thank you so much,
That's in the
everybody.
CircuitPython category.
This has been an Adafruit production. We will see everybody throughout the week. Next week, we got Desk Ladyada coming up.
This weekend.
We're in our new Brooklyn factory. We got a lot of fun stuff.
Fun.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for making this the best CircuitPython day so far. I'll say.
Yay.
Bye.
CircuitPython Day, we code and play the open source way. CircuitPython Day, we code and play the open source way. We code and play.
Code. Play. Code.